See, he already left. Hi, everyone. I'm going to give it a couple of minutes for people to flow in, and then we'll start. I do like all the colors.
I had to put colors. I am ADHD, so it's like I have to put colors to keep me alert.
There you go.
Yes. And it's kid friendly, you know. I work with kids, you know. I gotta.
All right, I'm going to give it a few more seconds. I always say a couple minutes, but I don't really mean it. Starting my Facebook Live. All right. Good evening, everyone. My name is Danielle Angelari, and I'm the Executive Director of NAMI Northern Illinois. We are an affiliate of the National Alliance on Mental Illness, and we are dedicated to improving the lives of individuals and families through support, education, advocacy, and hope. As you all know, COVID-19 has affected us all. Even if our youth haven't experienced the illness firsthand, they've all been exposed to the life changes and stresses this pandemic has caused. These types of events can have long-lasting impacts on some children's mental health, along with their emotional and behavioral development. For many, COVID-19 will shape their worldview, but there are several ways to help reduce the stress and build resilience in the lives of kids near and far. But I will let our presenter talk about that. I'm happy to introduce to you my friend Annie Hobson tonight. Annie helps youth empower themselves and develop internal skill sets that are essential for them to cope effectively with life's challenges. Annie works with many youth organizations on implementing successful youth-focused programs. She serves as the Youth Services Manager for the Rockford Family Peace Center, where she oversees Camp Hope, an evidence-based camping and mentoring program that focuses on children and teens exposed to domestic violence. She is deeply rooted in youth empowerment, youth involvement, and advocacy. And she believes that we cannot expect our young people to become resilient. We have to show them the proper way to do so. And just so you guys know, if you have any questions for Annie, please hold them to the end of the presentation. And at that time, you can type them in the chat or the question and answer box, and I will read them to her. And thank you all for joining us. Here's Annie.
All right. Thanks, Danielle. Danielle, I'm going to ask you, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So as Danielle mentioned, I'm Annie Hobson. I am very honored and humbled to serve as the Youth Services Manager at the Family Peace Center. We serve survivors of domestic violence, sexual violence, elder abuse, child abuse, and trafficking. And so my job is literally helping those youth who are coming through that center to become resilient after they've gone through what they have gone through. It is important for us to remind our youth that they are not their situation. Things occur, things happen, but it doesn't mean that that's who you are. So we're gonna be talking about helping kids to build resilience through COVID-19. It's gonna be really laid back. So I'll go ahead and jump in. The objectives tonight is to basically understand resilience as it relates to youth, to recognize the impact of COVID and stress on their brains, identify the 5 C's of youth development, illustrate how we can help youth develop resilience skills as best we can during this time. It's challenging for us all, but we can kind of master some ways in which we help them to become resilient during this time. So when we take a look at resilience, what does that truly mean? What's its raw definition? And its raw definition is our ability to bounce back from stress, from life's challenges, from adversity, or as my father likes to say, who was a huge basketball fan, it's our ability to pivot. When we pivot and change the direction in which life has altered. So I think that it's also vital to understand that youth are not necessarily, they don't necessarily not have resilience, and they don't necessarily have it. It is something that they have to develop. I know that we've heard several people say this, and I've even found myself saying it sometimes. Oh, he'll bounce back. He's a kid. That happened when he was 6. He's okay. They're not resilient because they just naturally are. They have to develop it. And so we have to instill in them the proper tools in order to do that, because it's not something that they naturally have. So I want everyone to just take a minute and think about, what was one of your daily stressors in school? Think about 5th grade or think about 6th grade. I can definitely tell you that one of my stressors, I was a tomboy. Sports, I wanted to go outside and play football with the boys. I wanted to play basketball. I wanted to run. I didn't want to do anything girly, but my mother had other plans. So one of my stressors was, what hairstyle is she going to give me today? Is it going to be poofy? Is it going to be colorful? What kind of barrettes is she going to put in my hair? That was one of my stressors in 5th grade, because I didn't want to have barrettes in my hair. I wanted to go out and play football. So think about what one of your stressors was when you were in 5th grade. And so we know that when you think about that, think about the different types of adversity that our youth face. Let's take away the fact that they're dealing with COVID-19. Let's take away the fact that we have so many other things going on right now. Let's take away all of that. But let's think about the basic things that our students are enduring right now, or what they would endure if even they weren't enduring COVID-19 in school. Schoolwork, that's adversity. That's a challenge for most of our students. Discovering their own identity. As I told you, my stressor was my hair. I was trying to find my own identity. So it was huge adversity for me. Fitting in. Will I fit in with this group for this entire year? Bullying and cyberbullying. Cyberbullying has added an additional layer to bullying, and it's just made things quite difficult for many of our students. Social media. Not even going to go into that. We all know. Understanding emotions. But wait, 5th graders, 4th graders, 6th, 7th, and 8th, we want you to understand your emotions, but we want you to also balance those emotions. So they're going through all of this, coping with grief. Maybe they've transferred schools and they've lost a friendship. Maybe they've lost someone in their life personally. And now we add to all of this COVID-19. So our youth are challenged right now. They are hitting so many different challenges, and it's hard for most of them to stay afloat. So I'm not gonna go through tons of stats. That's not me, but there are a few stats that I do think are essential to this conversation. In March, we had 89% of our world student population out of school. And as of now, we know that that is closer to 100%, as many of our kids are doing school from home, online. Young people ages 16 to about 24 were not involved in any education, employment, or training or educational training programs. So 267 million. So where were they? They were home. There we go. They were home, and they were home with caring adults and mentors who, in fact, are dealing with COVID as well. So just from May 14th through the 19th, look at that spike in anxiety and depression in adults who are dealing with this pandemic as well. So you have children who are out of school, they're in the homes, they're already dealing with the normal stressors that a child would have to deal with in their growth and development. Now add COVID. Now let me add one more thing to your bowl, and that being your parent or your guardian being stressed and showing those symptoms in the house. So our kids are dealing with a lot right now. So what does that stress do? So I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but our bodies are pretty awesome machines. We're so awesome, we have built-in alert systems. So we all know that when our bodies sense uncertainty or stress, our body triggers stress hormones. So when that happens, it's preparing us for survival mode. It's preparing us for fight, flight, or freeze. So a person who has the ability to deal with that adversity, their body goes back to its normally scheduled programming. But for a child, think about a child who has no skills or skill set to respond to that stress. They are not resilient. Think about a child who is constantly exposed to stress. It becomes toxic, and it becomes so toxic to the point where it weakens their brain development, and it makes it hard for that child to learn and focus. That child's system is constantly revving like a 67 Chevy. It's constantly going. And what happens is they disengage. They become, in some events, they can become violent. They can, in class, they have the outbursts and they're fighting. That is their response. They become defiant. Their systems literally shut down. So a common cold that we can fight off, their system, it's affected and they can't fight it off as easily. Thinking is not as hard. Their memory is not, or thinking is not as easy for them. Making friends is not easy for them. It causes a lot of problems health-wise, stomach aches, headaches. It just stops the brain development. But we do have the ability to interrupt that trauma so that that child can develop. We can nurture that child by stopping that trauma. And we do that by equipping that child with what they need, the necessary tools needed to become resilient. Ultimately, what that child does is, and I love this, is they shut down and it becomes, I can't hear you, I can't respond because I am trying to stay safe. And working with youth, I see that a lot. I see it so many times. They literally shut down, and it's because their bodies are stuck in that revving mode. It's triggered. So how do we help with that? So youth development, Dr. Richard Lerner from Tufts University, I believe in Massachusetts, is like a champion in this area. And he says that youth development is a process in which we equip young people to deal with the challenges that they will have to go through throughout their life. And this is done, youth development kind of unfolds through activities and experiences. So when you think about after school programs, those activities and those experiences that they have with a positive, caring adult mentor, those are ways in which youth are being strengthened and developing resilience skills. And this is done through 5 pillars of strength. So those 5 strengths are competence, confidence, connections, character, and compassion. So those 5 areas of strength are what we want to nurture in order for our youth, our young people, our babies to develop the ability to be a resilient human being. So, competence, I'm gonna go through them so that we have a clear understanding of them. Competence. This is that child's ability, positive view of their actions in specific areas. It could be academic, it is social, it is cognitive, it's health. This is where that child develops the ability to make smart decisions or positive decisions. This is also where they develop the ability to cope, problem-solving skills. So those key areas come from competence. Confidence. It is what that child feels about themselves. It is making sure that when that child looks at the mirror, that child likes and loves, not only likes, but loves that reflection looking back at them. Compassion. Compassion is where we're nurturing compassion in our youth so that they show empathy and sympathy towards the the needs of other people. So during this time, it's important that our youth understand that, yeah, we are going through some tough stuff right now. We're all going through hell right now, but you are not the only one. What can you do to help other people? So that's where that comes from, respecting other people. Connections. This is simply having a positive and strong connection with a caring adult mentor, or a friend, a peer, family members, school, teachers, anyone within the school building, community centers, Boys and Girls Club, Rockford Park District. So this is where those kids form connections with people, and they contribute to this connection. They contribute to this relationship. And once they develop a strong relationship with someone that they can trust, that they can rely on, it's easy for them to go to that person and ask for help when they need it. And it's easy for them to develop the correct, effective communication tools. So when they are having meltdowns, they're not throwing chairs across the room, or they're not having a meltdown in the house right now. They are able to communicate and say, this is what I need, this is what's going on. It's a little more difficult for youth who are younger, but we'll kind of dive into that a little later in the presentation. And finally, that fifth area of strength is character. This is where our children are developing their own, they're taking ownership. They're taking ownership of their behaviors. They are looking at society, they're looking at cultural norms, and they're developing their own character, in a sense, for right or wrong, integrity. And this is the area in which they are developing the ability to have self-control. So these are the 5 areas through, so we're taking a look at resilience through youth development. And these are the 5 areas in which we want to strengthen in our children. So how do we foster the development of our children's 5 C's so that they learn resilience? So the next couple of slides are 10 tips that I think are extremely helpful, or can be extremely helpful during this time for our young people. Definitely helpful during COVID right now. But these are tips that have been helpful for me in the classroom. They've been helpful for other teachers. I spent a lot of time researching, developing, implementing programs and projects in which you've developed resilience. And I work with a lot of teachers here in our district. I work with a lot of teachers outside of our district, so that I can get a broadened view of effective tools that we can utilize. So these are tips that we can use. And some of these activities and kind of conversation starters in these tips may not be suitable for a particular age. They may have to be altered based on the developmental stage of that child. So I want you to keep that in mind. All right, so the first tip, help them stay connected. Again, based on the age, it may not be as difficult to do this, but if you have younger children, elementary age students, even middle school, you may want to help them to stay connected. Even our pre-K through 5 learners, help them stay connected, let them see people, encourage them to connect with their friends on social media platforms, FaceTime, Zoom, Google Meet, and other virtual platforms. Let them see other human beings, let them stay connected. Bring back the art of writing and mailing letters. Snail mail, they don't know nothing about that. So introduce them to writing and mailing letters. I have started to mail letters to a lot of my students with the permission, of course, from their parents, but we mail back and forth. And every student from elementary to my high school students are like, oh, Miss Annie, when am I getting the next letter? When am I getting it? So it's something that they look forward to. And having something to look forward to is hope. So bring back the art of writing and mailing letters. It works. Schedule family and friends to do drive-ups. If you are not in a position where you don't have transportation, talk with them. Someone else has transportation. Schedule a time where they can drive by, and so that your child or that young person can see another human. They can have some form of human contact. So help them stay connected. Let them help. Kids love to help. Even our high school students love to help. So give them the opportunity to do so. My niece is 15 years old, love her to death. She may be stubborn sometimes. She may, oh, Titi, I don't want to do that. I don't feel like doing that. But if it's helping someone else, she is jumping to that opportunity. So give them the opportunity to help. Maybe that might be creating chores around the house, or give them the opportunity to do something around the house. And if it is chores, or if it's the host of chores, maybe it's cleaning the bathroom, maybe it's cooking or whatever, try to make it fun, make it entertaining. If it's cooking, do a Chopped episode. I'm a huge fan of the show Chopped. Make it a tournament, make it fun for them. And also, if they're a little older and they're, doing chores around the house, praise them for it. Let them know that they are doing something amazing. They are helping to keep the entire family and the household safe. Praise them for it. They need to be praised. They need to continuously hear it. I don't care what age. When you think about it, even adults like to be praised. So why wouldn't a child or a young person want to be praised for some of the awesome things that they're doing? If you shop for other people, let them be a part of that process. I shop for quite a few people, senior citizens, and my niece has been a part of that. So let them shop for other people. Let them be the one to put it on the porch or on the stairs. Let them feel needed. Think of ways that they can be helpful to their classmates or the younger kids in their school, or even teachers. And maybe that's just sending a thank you and saying, hey, Mrs. Smith, thank you so much for showing up today. Or maybe they want to be encouraging to a younger group of kids in the school. Send an email to encourage them. So let them create ways to be helpful for other people. Number 3, this is extremely difficult, and I get it. I totally get it. But youth thrive on things. They thrive when things are consistent, when they have a routine. And when we all know when that routine is interrupted, it's kind of hard to bounce back. But this is why we are fostering and nurturing these 5 areas of strength for them, so that they can be resilient in the face of change, because things are changing every day right now. So a daily routine, I get it, is pretty hard to do, but create and post a schedule and let them be a part of creating that schedule. Let them be a part of the process. Be as consistent as possible. Again, I get it. Most of us are not home during the day with our children. We may have to leave that child with another caring adult. So it's important to maybe schedule a family meeting so that everyone is on the same page. It may take some time, but it's worth the time. Differentiate between school time and work time and kickback time. What I mean by that is, let children know, okay, from this time to this time, you're focused on schoolwork. I'm focused on work time if you work from home. And kickback time, find times to kick back and just relax and chill. Step away from the daily routine, that screen time. And it's also pretty important to, if you have the opportunity to do this in your living space, set up your child's or that child's workspace or school space in an area where they don't have many distractions. Because if that child is in their room, they're not as focused as they could possibly, be possibly. So if there's if there's a place where you can set up a desk, if there's a place where you can set up just a really chill area where there are not as many distractions, I would encourage you to do so. And when the routines change, be sure to let them know why. One thing that my mother would do when I was young, and I wouldn't question her because you don't question mom, but one thing that my mom would do is, if I would ask her, well, why is this changing? Or why do we got to do this? Or why we got to do that? And the answer was always, because I'm the mom, I'm the parent. I get that, but in this time right now, COVID, it is important for us to let our kids know. If something is going to change, let them know that it's changing and let them know why. What they're doing is watching you. So if they see that you are cool with that change, oh, mom's cool with it, dad's cool with it, aunt, uncle, they're flowing with that change. It must mean that it's safe for me to flow with that change. So if you have a routine and it changes, let them know and be as consistent as possible. Again, it is difficult to do in COVID, but consistency is really helpful for a child to develop the ability to bounce back, to pivot. Take fun breaks. I love kicking back, taking a fun break, having fun, blowing bubbles, doing whatever. It gets my mind, back on task. So when we're doing all of this screen time and, life has just changed, COVID has just kind of altered everything for everyone. Remember to take fun breaks. Encourage unique activities that promote coping skills. So if you have a child that loves robots, they love STEM, expose them to STEM. If you have a child that loves art, expose them to art. If it's, my niece is into making hair care and facial products for people of color, I encourage that. I am going to foster that because that is a coping mechanism that she has now developed. And so when my niece is stressed or something gets to her, she's making a body butter, she's making a facial cream, she's making something and she's coping. You can see it. So expose children to unique activities. Schedule these fun breaks into the daily routine. I know that some people don't get home until after 5. So during the day may be more difficult, but still have that fun break. When you get home, I know it may not happen every night because some nights you get home, you're just tired. I get that, but try to have those breaks scheduled throughout the day as much as you possibly can. Maybe those fun breaks have to take place for some parents, family members on Saturday, but don't skip them. Teach them that it is okay to step back from things. Use exercise, dance, and even try yoga. There are so many apps that you can download now, and you can try new things, dance, exercising. Exercise is not something that I've been able to stick to, but I'm willing to give it a shot if that's something that's going to help my niece to build resilience. Educate them on self-care. This is extremely difficult for most adults, I think. We have a hard time stepping back and focusing on self-care, especially during this time, especially if you are in a profession where you are helping others. You just go, you just go, you just go. But if you do not step back and take the time to care for you, things kind of fall apart. If you're not there to do it, things will fall by the side. So we have to focus on self-care, and it's hard to do that. I get that, but educate youth on the importance of self-care. Teach them the basics of self-care, which means that it is okay to focus on taking care of yourself, health, mental, physical. It is okay to do that. So teach them that self-care is all right. Learn about self-care together. Again, it is hard, I know, for us as adults to focus on self-care. So we have to find time to teach our kids to do that. And the best thing to do is to learn it with them together. So we can learn it together. Create a self-care day for them. It's okay to create a day for your kids. Spoil them, lay out the things that they like to do. If it's art, lay that out on a table and say, hey, I'm going to give you 30 minutes to focus on art. I'm going to bring you your snacks. I'm going to let you even watch television, your favorite shows. Spoil them for a day. Let them see what self-care is really about and talk to them about why you did it. Let them know that it's okay to step back. It's okay to make mistakes. That's a part of self-care. And discuss boundaries. Um, self-care, a part of self-care is setting boundaries, being able to tell people no, being able to say, you know what, I can't do this today, but maybe I can do it tomorrow. Or just telling people flat out, it's not something I think I can do. It is okay to discuss boundaries with your children. And actually, the earlier you have the discussion with your children about boundaries, the better, because they know what they deserve. They know how they should be treated. They know how to analyze when someone is trying to get them, to do things that they do not want to do. So self-care, remember that boundaries, setting boundaries, huge part of self-care. And Danielle, moving kind of fast, so let me know if I'm moving too fast. Is that okay?
No, you're good.
All right. All right. All right. Tip number 6, ready, set goals. Or ready, set goal. Set goals for your child, or let them set goals for themselves. Teach them how to set goals that are reasonable and reachable. I have to use my niece again. She is my baby. Everyone who knows me knows that. My niece will set a goal and have absolutely no details about how she's going to do it. She just comes out of nowhere. And we know this for youth, period. This is what they do. She'll come out of left field. Oh, I think I'm going to be an actress. Andrea, how are you going to do that? Have you ever taken a class in school? You have access to taking classes to act in school. How are you going to get there? So she goes back to the drawing board. So it's a process for she and I. Like I said, she recently discovered what she wants to do, and that's creating products. And she's doing awesome at it. She has a plan laid out. So work with them. Teach them how to make reasonable and reachable goals. And when they accomplish any goal, acknowledge them for that. Praise them for that. Tell them that they're doing an amazing job. Ask them how you can help them do that. And again, I understand that it may look different depending on the ages and the developmental stages of youth, but it can all be altered and fitting. So post the goals. When they create a goal, post it. Post the goals so that everyone can be reminded and can stay on the same page, and encourage them to do it. So if Andrea sets her goals and they're on my refrigerator, I'm going to constantly remind her, hey, we got this goal set. Where are we? Show me where we're at on it. How can I help? How are you doing on it? So goal setting is actually, it's awesome because it's also teaching them problem solving skills. Tip 7, this is probably my favorite tip, because when you have hope, there is nothing that you cannot do. We got this. Show them that they are not their situation. You have to continuously praise them and remind them that whatever has occurred in their life, they are not their situation. It cannot defeat them. They have the willpower to defeat it. They have the willpower to change their situation. I don't care how young. We can start early with them and helping them to understand and believe in themselves and see, I'm not my situation. Yeah, this happened to me, but it's not who I am. Celebrate every small achievement. Post positive affirmations throughout the house or throughout the living space. You are awesome. You can do this. I believe in you. I got your back. We're gonna make it. The more that they see those, it changes the mind. It changes their mindset. Post it on the mirror. You are beautiful. You are awesome. My mother, I speak very highly of my mother and father because they instilled in me, a lot of these principles. And my mother would always tell me, you are a strong Black woman and there is nothing that you cannot achieve. And she would tell me that every single morning. It would be posted everywhere in the house. And it's something that I tell myself to this day. even when I face adversity. So it works. Post positive affirmations throughout your living space. The students that I work with, we state or we read a affirmation before we start actually digging into our lesson. I like who I am. I love who I am. My swag is so unique. Challenges I will defeat. I am a leader every day of the week. Every time that we meet, we repeat that, and they get stronger and stronger when they say it. Check in, check in, check in. Check in with them. See where they're at mentally. See where they're at emotionally, socially. Check in with them. I know that we have a lot going on. COVID has shifted everything. We know this, but check in with them. Let them know that someone is still thinking of them. Their needs are still a priority. And use history and heroes to show them that there is power and hope. We can get past this. We can move past whatever the situation is, whether it's COVID, whether it's something else. We can move past it. Use heroes that maybe based on age they can relate to, and show stories in which that hero has overcome. Look at our history within the United States. What have we overcome? If it's something that you can use in both history and heroes, I would encourage you to do so. I use with my high school students, my male students, last year, we used Jay-Z a lot. He had a lot of adversity in his life, and we would use his story with some of our young males, and they would perk up because they're listening now. It's Jay-Z. It's something that they can relate to. And so we talk about the heroes and their challenges. We talk about our history throughout this country. What have we overcome? What have we defeated? What are we still working on? 8, I've heard several teachers say that being vulnerable has helped and encouraged their students. And this is something that I truly believe in as well. When you are vulnerable, when you show a child, when you show a student that you are vulnerable, that hell, you get scared sometimes too, they look at you and see that you are moving throughout life. So they trust that they can do it, especially if it's a caring adult that they trust and they've built the relationship with. That's why connections are so important. If it's an adult that they've connected with and they see that vulnerability and you are open about that vulnerability, they will ride with you. They will see you and say, you know what? Oh, Miss Annie's doing it, so it must be okay. So be vulnerable, show them your fears and talk about them. When you have that open dialogue and that open conversation about emotions, it is actually teaching them how to manage those emotions. It is actually teaching them that it is okay that I'm mad. It is okay that I am pissed. It is okay that I'm sad. And this is a natural response for these emotions. Now, what do I do? You know, what do I do as an outlet? So when you have those open dialogue and conversations with kids, you are actually strengthening them. Create moments where you talk about self-expression. Again, it is important for youth to be able to express what they're feeling right now. Bottling that up is not good for any of us. So when we talked about helping our kids to discover new and unique ways to outlet, maybe it's art, maybe it's robotics, those are ways that our kids can self-express. Poetry. Just put on, if you have a child that loves music and loves rap or loves poetry or loves to write short stories, put music on and let them go. Tell them to write a short story. Tell them to write a rap about it. Tell them to write a song about it. We have to find outlets for self-expression for them. 9, reduce their exposure. Kids are glued to the tube enough. So when everything on the television is related to COVID or something negative and they're watching that, it's settling in their brains. And unless we have open conversations about what they are seeing, they're going into their classrooms, online classrooms, or with their friends or what have you, and they're thinking, you know, what they see on TV is the worst of the worst. So limit their exposure to social media and the news, but also sit down and watch the news with them and explain to them what's going on. And if they have questions, answer them truthfully and honestly. But them watching it with you, someone who they love, someone who they trust, another caring adult, it's going to be more easily received. And check in, because things are changing so fast right now. What a child may see on the news on a Monday and what you discuss with them on that Monday, by Wednesday, something else is going on. And now their class is talking about it. Their teacher may introduce them to it. And so now from their classmates and peers, they have a new idea of what's going on. So check in with them to make sure that, hey, remember what we talked about on Monday? How do you feel about that? To see what they've learned new. And finally, if these tips are not helping that young person, step outside of the tips. And this goes for us as well. Step outside of the tips, meaning seek someone who can help, such as a psychologist or another health professional, mental health professional. Seeking the additional assistance does not mean that you're weak. It doesn't mean that you can't manage life. It doesn't mean that you can't help your child manage life. It means that you know that your child needs additional resources. It means that you know that you need additional resources, and it's okay. So if none of those tips will work, or if you don't see that they're being effective with your child, step outside of the tips, and it is okay to do so. So again, I said those tips are going to need to be altered based on the developmental stage of the child that you have. So I just want to run past a few things in terms of ages and stages. So pre-K to 5, we have to remember that these ages have a hard time verbalizing. And so play and art are great ways for them to express what they feel. Elementary age students are very curious. They have a billion questions inside of their heads and they want answers to all of them. Have open and honest conversations with them. You know your child, you know that child that you may work with. Their emotions are still all over the place. They're trying to balance them. So you may have to soften the blow, but be very direct with them and open with them in those conversations. Middle school. This is a funky group. They are caught in between, oh, I want to be treated like an adult, or you treat me like a child, but they want to snuggle up with you on the couch and watch a movie. They want your attention, and they oftentimes will get jealous when that elementary school student invades your time. So we have to remember that for our middle schoolers. And high school, talk to them whenever you can. This is another difficult time. Talk with them whenever you can, even if it seems that they don't want to talk. And I'm not saying force them to talk, but if there's an opportunity where you can have maybe even a 5-minute conversation, have that conversation. They are listening. They are listening. I find that when I am having tough conversations with high school students individually, it is better to get them to open up when they are physically doing something. It may be doodling or drawing, and a lot of people put the pencil, or a lot of teachers I've seen, or even parents, and myself, I've done it too, put the pencil down, you're not listening, when in fact, it is actually helping them to focus more in some cases. So yeah, just keep that in mind. Ask for their opinion. And when they give it to you, actually listen to it and value it, and cheer them on for giving their opinion. It keeps them talking. It keeps them engaged. It lets them know that it is okay to have an opinion. So just to reflect and kind of wrap things up, When we connect youth to activities and experiences that foster their 5 Cs, we are actually helping them to develop the skill sets that they need to be resilient. So problem solving is one, asking for help, learning to cope and developing coping skills that they can utilize to reduce stress. Again, like I said, my niece loves to make facial products, hair care products. You can literally see the stress, just fall off of her. And if she doesn't have access to that, we do have other things lined up. So that's not the only one, because maybe she doesn't have access to that. So introducing them to multiple activities, focusing on positivity. There's so much negativity around us. It is important for us to help our youth to focus on the positive. Connection is so important and so valuable. Connecting them to, or having them connected to other caring adults, having them connected to other human beings is important. It's an important piece of their development and their growth, cognitively, socially, emotionally, and physically. Respecting others and expressing their feelings appropriately. It is okay to be mad as hell. It is okay to be that. But it is not okay to hurt other people in the process because you are mad as hell. So how do we help them to channel that anger in the proper way? I will leave you all with this story. This is probably the best story. Many of you may have heard it, but this is probably the best story that I've heard when it comes to teaching someone about resilience. So a granddaughter goes into her grandmother's house and she says to her, "Granny, I'm stressed. I don't know if I'm going to be able to make it. I'm stressed out." Her grandmother doesn't say anything. She takes her into the kitchen and she puts on 3 pots. She puts on 3 pots of hot water or of water, and she's boiling the water. 20 minutes, the water is boiling in these 3 pots. In one pot, she puts carrots. In another, she puts eggs. And then in another pot, there are coffee beans. So in completion of the 20 minutes, the granddaughter is like, "Okay, what is this? Okay, you got a pot of carrots, you got a pot of eggs, coffee, they don't even go together. What are you doing?" So the grandmother explains to her, she takes out the carrots, she takes out the eggs, and she takes out the coffee. And I'm gonna get my notes to make sure that I know the meaning to this, because when I heard it, it was like, oh, wow, that's pretty awesome. She takes the carrots out. Before the carrots go into the pot, they're strong, hard, can't break it. However, after being subjected to that hot water, that adversity, they became softened and weak. I can't fight anymore. I'm done. That egg was fragile from jump, but that outer shell protected its liquid insides. And what happened is the insides, the shell may not have broken, but the inside became hardened, bitter, angry at what happened to them in life. And then the coffee beans came out untouched. The coffee beans actually changed its situation. It created coffee. It created something that many of us have to have in the morning in order to function. So when we think of resilience from this perspective, which do we want our children to be? The carrot, the egg, or the coffee bean? Danielle, are there any questions?
That was amazing. Good job. I don't see any questions. Does anyone have questions? You want to throw them in the chat box or Q&A portion?
And it's okay if there's not any questions, Danielle. We don't want to push people. We don't want to force people. So
That's funny. No, I feel like I learned a lot. Someone said that was great over here. Sorry, my dog's talking in the background.
That's okay. That's okay.
No, I think that you could apply a lot of this to being an adult too. You have me believing in myself.
Yes, you can. Posting positive affirmations. I post them in my own household. So yeah, I did. So I added a few resources that are helpful for me. So Department of Health and Human Services has a lot of information on COVID and activities that you can do with youth. The America's Test Kitchen, this is a website where you can get a lot of recipes and cooking recipes for kids. Awesome. I use it actually in the development of a lot of cooking programs that I've implemented with some officers here in Rockford. And then I always get this wrong, so I have to read it. The National Child Traumatic Stress Network. They have tons of information on trauma and stress and how to cope at this time. And then my information is on there as well. If there's questions that anyone has, resources that are needed, feel free to contact me.
I do have 2 quick questions that I know you were looking forward to. So there's a question. It says, "Great job, Annie. Any changes to your message for special needs children?"
So for special needs children, I do think that contacting our Rockford School District, I don't have the name right off the top of my head, but their department, they have a few teachers that are really, really awesome in what they do. So I connect with those teachers, and I also connect with support workers at Rockford Park District who are in therapeutic work. So I reach out to people for that. So I could definitely, if someone contacted me, I could definitely connect you and ensure that you get the proper information needed for that. But when we do have youth who have special needs, I want to ensure, or unique differences, I want to ensure that they are supported. And so we will work with partners, RPS, RPD. We will reach out to them to do so.
I'd be happy to share everyone that's on here's email with you if you're interested, and vice versa.
Yeah, that's okay. That's fine with me. Go for it.
Okay, another question. Any tips for kids creating a safe space at home when they're not in charge?
Say that again, Danielle.
It says, any tips for kids creating a safe space at home when they're not in charge? I'm not sure I understand the last part of it.
So if it's creating a safe space in the household for a child, I'm just gonna take it from that approach. I'm not sure that I completely understand the last part of that, but when a child is creating a safe space at home, help them to do so. When my niece is here, she has her bedroom is her safe space. So I asked her, what types of things do you want in your safe space? What do you want it to look like? What do you want? Do you want posters up? Do you want this up? Do you let them take charge and create it, but you do it with them? Because having that caring adult next to them is reassuring that it is a safe space. Talk to them, be open about their concerns. If they're coming to you with issues, be open about it. Talk to them about it, check in with them. That's how you create a safe space for a child. You continuously check in with them. You let them kind of lead in creating their atmosphere. And then you do it with them. You're partners in this. You say to them, we got this, you do it together.
So they clarified for me. He was talking about like the home, like as a whole. I guess it sounds like more of a boundaries thing, like as in the parent has like control over the space, right, and sets the rules. So how do you keep that respect and boundary?
So in my experience is you set the ground rules, but you do it together. Allow them to post some ground rules as well. So if there are rules that you're creating for the household, let them be a part of creating that. And when they break that rule, take them back to it and say, you created it. So take them back to it. Let them be a part of making the rules. We do that in classrooms. We let kids be a part of what this safe space will look like. Let them be a part of it.
Awesome. And I have another wow, thank you. So much great information. Really well done. Thank you for that. Thank you for making this relevant to the youth we serve. I am hoping we will be coordinating services in the near future. I work for the Elevate program and would love to connect with you.
Definitely. I want to connect with anyone who's working with our babies. So my info is on there. Just reach out and I will reach back.
Awesome. Thank you, Annie. I don't see any more questions.
Okay.
So if you guys do have questions, please email Annie. And again, sorry about the dog talking.
That's okay. That's all right. He needs love too.
Oh, I do have one more. How do you suggest students creating a safe space when their household consists of, 13 plus, and there are multiple distractions? Oh, okay, I see. There are 13 individuals in the household. Is that what I'm reading?
That is quite difficult. I will say that any of the tips that were suggested would be helpful in a household as large as that, but I would say a schedule is definitely needed for that many in the household. Kids need to be able to visually see their expectations and what's expected of them. So if you have an area where you can post expectations, I would post it so that everyone in the household can see it. And I would also make sure that we had meetings often so that we can review what we put on this schedule, because that is a huge household. And so consistency is important. Consistency is going to be key for a house of, that many children and family members.
Thank you. Any last words?
Nope.
All right, thank you so much.
Words, but thank you, Danielle, for creating this platform. This was amazing. This was awesome. Gives me an opportunity to connect with more families, educators, whoever, wants to connect and create for our youth, create programs, projects, avenues for them to develop resilience. I'm all for it. So this was an amazing platform, and thank you so much for inviting me to it.
Oh, of course, and we're going to share it everywhere after this.
I bet.
All right, everyone have a good night, and thank you all for coming too.
All right, thank you.